Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we're looking at the best new decks to be coming out of the upcoming Cosmic Eclipse expansion of the Pokemon trading card game. Now, there's actually a lot of decks coming out, so what we're going to do is in this video, we are going to focus on the big GX decks, which to be fair have seen by far the most amount of success. And then there's going to be another video coming probably tomorrow where we focus on budget decks coming out of Cosmic Eclipse, of which there are half a dozen which could legitimately be really good, all of which have won tournaments over in Japan, but have not seen the sustained success that we've been seeing here. Now, quick note before we get going, we are looking at new decks. Charizard and Braixen is a phenomenal card, which is going to be played a lot. The ability to do 180 damage while searching any free cards out of your deck, yes, it's brilliant. But the fact of the matter is, it's going to be played in Reshiram and Charizard decks, and it's going to be played in Mewtwo and Mew decks. It is not going to be its own deck. Similarly, I am a huge fan of Mega Lopunny and Jigglypuff, and that is also going to see, I feel extremely confident in saying, a huge amount of play. It will also potentially go into Mewtwo and Mew decks, might go into Reshiram and Charizard decks, very likely to go into Gardevoir and Sylveon decks. It is a brilliant card. But it's not a new deck. So starting off with my favourite of the new decks, though I don't know if I can call it the best, Blastoise and PIPLUP. I absolutely adore Blastoise and PIPLUP. Now, straight off the bat, the one thing we do need to mention about this deck, in Japan it's had Aqua Patch, and Aqua Patch does help. You see, Blastoise and PIPLUP, very nice card. 2 water energy, 1 colorless, 150 damage. You may attach up to 3 water energy cards from your hand to your Pokemon in any way that you like, and then heal 50 damage from those Pokemon for each energy that you went ahead and attached. It is wonderful. But you need to get going. And that is the biggest issue with Blastoise and PIPLUP. As soon as you get the first lot of energy on there, you can keep accelerating energy and you're rolling. But the fact of the matter is, you do need to get the first 3 energy on there. That's where Aqua Patch comes in. I still think it's a good deck. I still think it's viable. You've still got the combination of Naganadel and Quagsire. Naganadel accelerates energy to itself, and then Quagsire moves it over to your active. So we've got plenty of options. And we generally see it being played with stuff like the Greninja GX from Detective Pikachu, because it can go through things like Alolan Ninetales that block GXs, as well as stuff like Jirachi for a bit of extra consistency. It's seen quite a lot of success and play in Japan as it is, and it actually went and got top 4 in a huge tournament over in Japan just a couple of weeks ago. It is a great deck, but I fear that the lack of Aqua Patch may well end up hurting it. We can still accelerate with Naganadel Quagsire, but it does make the deck a turn or 2 slower. Incidentally, I've got builds of all these decks that I've done videos on. I will link all of these in the description, so if you want to go and have a deck list and have a look at any of these decks in a bit more detail, there'll be a bunch of links in the description. One deck that I did not see coming, and translates perfectly over here, is VICTINI, KELDEO, and Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia. Now, I didn't actually put the Creation Trio on my top 10 cards from Cosmic Eclipse. And the reason is I downgraded it because most of the best decks over in Japan play Double Dragon Energy. I'm arguably being a little bit harsh to it, because this deck works very nicely. Now, what we've essentially got is KELDEO, and KELDEO's been seeing a little bit of play for a while. It's got an ability that blocks GXs from actually attacking it. Now, it can be turned off by Power Plant, but one of the main things we got at the moment is Mewtwo and Mew that can't play Power Plant without also turning off itself. It's a nice little blocking deck. But we've also got Arceus and Dialga and Palkia. Water, Metal, Colorless Energy, 150 damage. Search your deck for 3 basic energy and attach them to your Pokemon in any way that you like. It's great energy acceleration. We also have 1 Metal Energy. For the rest of the game, your attacks do an extra 30 damage. That's all your attacks. And if you've got an extra Water Energy attached, so Metal and Water, for the rest of the game, every time you take a KO, you take an extra prize card. That's potentially broken. The only real issue here is actually getting all the energy on there, and that's where we say hello to the Victini from Unified Minds. You see, the Victini from Unified Minds for a single fire energy lets you search your deck for 2 basic energy cards of different types and attach them to your Pokemon in any way that you like. You do this once to get the energy onto Arceus, Dialga and Palkia, and then as soon as you attack with them, you're setting up the rest of your Pokemon for the rest of the game. You get the advantage of KELDEO blocking a whole bunch of Pokemon, you've got a decent attacker, and for the entire game you do more damage and take more prizes. And the fact of the matter is that although the deck we saw over in Japan tended to be a very straightforward list, if you're playing a bunch of different energy, there's nothing to stop you taking in a bunch of random Pokemon to just do whatever you like. Very much a deck worth having a test with. Just like SIlvally, and SIlvally is weird, right? I've been referring to it as the new Zoroark, and I stand by that comparison. They both have a good draw engine ability, they both do 120 for 2 colourless energy. Now, SIlvally's ability is literally Octillery, draw till you got 5 cards in hand, and the attack does 120 if you've played a supporter card this turn, which you almost certainly will have. You don't have double colourless energy, but you do have triple acceleration energy. You've also still got the SIlvally from Ultra Prism that accelerates energy and gives your basics free retreat. And although some of them have rotated out, you've still got access to the memory cards, some of them at least, that will turn you into a different typing. So maybe you make yourself electric type using electric memory, or lightning type as it is in a trading card game, and then use electro power to do a bit of extra damage. That's an option. The point is there's an awful lot you can do with SIlvally. You're hitting decent damage, you've got a draw engine, you've got some extra tricks. You've also actually got a really nice GX attack, which is exactly the same as the Alolan Ninetales, the second one, that just gets a one-hit KO on any Ultra Beast. So unlike Zoroark, you've actually got a GX attack that you can use. The thing is, like Zoroark, SIlvally is paired with a lot of different things. There is no SIlvally deck. It is SIlvally Stuff deck. So one of the cards that's seen a bit of play and a bit of success with it is another card that didn't make my top 20 list from Cosmic Eclipse, though it was extremely close to making it. The new Volcarona. Now, playing with new Volcarona means you're using fire energy, so you're opening up Welder. And you've got an ability that says that once during your turn, you may discard a fire energy from your hand and place 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. It's actually then got a really nice attack, free energy 160, but you return 2 fire energy to your hand, which means even if Volcarona gets KO'd next turn, you've still got the opportunity to welder that energy back onto one of your other Pokemon. So this is one build that we've seen that's been really good and seen some success and some play, but we've also seen play and success for it with Alolan Persian GX. Now, this is another one which is coming out in Cosmic Eclipse, so a very new deck. And the ability prevents all damage and effects from attacks, i.e. gives you complete immunity, from any Pokemon that are tag teams, or Ultra Beasts, or have special energy attached to them, which actually gives you immunity from a whole bunch of different stuff. Whether that's things like Blacephalon, which is an entire deck, or things that are using special energy. To be fair, special energy isn't great at the moment. The biggest one is triple acceleration, and that falls off at the end of your turn, meaning it's not even there for Alolan Persian to get immunity. But tag teams are everywhere. Best decks in the format at the moment, you got your Reshiram and Charizard, Mewtwo and Mew, Gardevoir and Sylveon. You'll notice a lot of the decks I'm shouting out in this video are tag teams. you're going to get immunity from a whole bunch of stuff. Damage output is quite low, 120 is fine but not amazing, but it doesn't really need to be, because you're blocking. And the fact of the matter is, I've just given you two examples. They're the ones that I've seen making waves over in Japan. SIlvally could end up just being a tech that sits in decks and doesn't make the deck itself. But like Zoroark, it's far more likely to end up being at the center of multiple different archetypes, and that makes me kind of happy. But I think probably the biggest, baddest, bestest deck, which is going to be coming out from Cosmic Eclipse, is Reshiram and Zekrom. I expect, and I've said this out loud, I've said it in my videos, I've said it in public, I stand by this, I expect Reshiram and Zekrom to instantly become one of, if not the best deck in the format. But once again, there's a couple different builds we can use. So to remind ourselves of what Reshiram and Zekrom actually does, what we've got here is 2 energy, discard up to 3 in any combination of basic fire and basic lightning from your bench Pokemon, do 90 more for each one you discarded. So what you really want to do there is discard 3, do 270, boom, you win. But if you only want to KO a Malamar, you only get rid of 1 energy. If you only want to KO a Blastoise, you only get rid of 2 energy. You don't have to get rid of 3 and do 270, but the option is there if you want to. Then for 4 energy, 170 to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon, and if you've played End Resolve this turn, you get to do 170 to 2 bench Pokemon. Now imagine your opponent's got 2 Dedenne on the bench, and yes, obviously they can have Mew to block it, but just try and take out the Mew. And all of a sudden that's 4 prizes in 1 attack. This is one of the new style of tag teams, whereby the extra effect depends on the supporter you've played, rather than the extra energy you've got attached to it. So the only real question then becomes, how do you get the energy on? Well, the no-brainer here is Tapu Koko Prism Star, Lost Zone it from the bench, attach 1 lightning energy to each of 2 bench Pokemon. That is a given, that is definitely going to be something you use. But then we got a whole bunch of other options. One way that people have been playing it is with Naganadel, making it very much like Naganadel Blacephalon, using Naganadel to accelerate energy to itself, and then discarding it, because remember, Reshiram and Zekrom discards from your bench Pokemon, which means that you can just accelerate the energy to Naganadel and discard it from your bench Naganadel. And then, of course, just like Blacephalon, you'd also probably use Welder. And you'd probably use B-String here. B-String only works if your opponent has 3 or 4 prizes remaining, but it allows you to search your deck for 2 basic energy and attach them to one of your Ultra Beasts. And as was pointed out in my previous video, yes, obviously that includes Naganadel. Doesn't mean you cannot use other Ultra Beasts as backup attackers, or put the energy on them, but if you're using Naganadel to accelerate energy, B-String will allow you to also get more energy onto Naganadel. But one of the decks we've really seen crushing over in Japan lately doesn't bother with Naganadel, it just uses Welder, Tapu Koko Prism Star, and End Resolve. You see, you've got to play End Resolve to get the great effect from the GX attack, and End Resolve lets you discard the top 6 cards of your deck, and then attach any basic energy you discard to one of your dragon Pokemon. Brilliant. That's going to get your energy out. It's kind of brilliant. So there are different ways to play it, but the message here is very simple. It is an overwhelmingly powerful card that does rely on having quite a lot of energy on the field, except we've got Tapu Koko Prism Star, Welder, Naganadel, B-String, and End Resolve, all of which can actually accelerate that energy quite nicely, and we're just not even a little bit worried about it. I cannot tell you that it is definitely going to be the best deck in the format the second it's released, but I do feel fairly confident in calling it the best new deck that's coming out of Cosmic Eclipse. All 4 of the decks that I've mentioned in this video, and I say 4, if you build in all the other builds, it's kind of more like 6 to 10. But I do feel very confident saying they're all good, but Reshiram and Zekrom is the best. Now obviously you've got things like Naganadel and Guzzlord, which is going to come in and make Weavile based Darkness box decks better, and all the ones I mentioned at the beginning of the video. But like I've said, what we were really worried about in this video was looking at new decks rather than looking at existing decks and the new tricks they're getting. I have done a bunch of videos about the new way to play Mewtwo and Mew, etc. But if you like, let me know in the comment section and I can do a video where I go, right, here are the new cards Mewtwo and Mew get from Cosmic Eclipse. And then just do a video where I go, here are the existing decks and here are all the new tricks they get. Let me know if you want that. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think about all of these decks. So let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where we talk about a whole bunch of games that don't even have any Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.